Well, boys and girls, it looks like Godzilla versus Kong, or Godzilla X Kong, or Godzilla Kong, whatever the hell the new empire you want to call it, is absolutely smashing it at the box office and has had the largest, best opening weekend of 2024 so far. Obviously, even smashing out Dune 2, which I think is absolutely incredible. And I'm excited to see this because this is one of those movies that isn't anything complicated, right? It's just a very simple popcorn movie. It's just a kaiju movie where a bunch of monsters are going to be out there running around and smashing things. And yeah, there might be a little too much concentration on the humans, like there is sometimes. So far, the audiences are loving it. The box office is doing absolutely well. We'll have to wait and see how the second weekend ends up doing to see if it's actually going to end up having some legs, see if word of mouth gets around, and it continues to be going on good going forward. But at the exact same time, this is exactly what we need. This isn't overcomplicated. This isn't some crazy over-the-top storytelling. This isn't kind of any agenda-driven nonsense. It's literally just a bunch of monsters going wild, going ham-fisted, blasting through things, knocking each other around, slapping each other around. It's just a big, great action movie. And at the end of the day, that's all some fans really want, and that's exactly what we've got right here. So we're going to check out this article from Bounding Into Comics and see exactly how well this Godzilla versus Kong, the New Empire, is doing this weekend, because it is absolutely smashing the rest of the box office all over the place. Alrighty, King of the Apes, King of the Monsters, Kings of the box office. Shout out to Spencer for this wonderful article, and smash that like button if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed. After just one weekend in theaters, Godzilla Kong has not only proved itself a box office success in its own right, but has also taken home the accolade of best opening weekend of 2024 thus far. Obviously, we've got a few other movies that are coming out this year, but outside of maybe Deadpool 3, and even then I'm not so sure since it's going to be a rated R movie, I think Godzilla versus Kong. Now, let me know what you guys think. If there's another movie out there that you think might end up doing better than this one. But considering it's had the best opening weekend so far, and the only other thing I was excited for this year was Dune, this might end up taking the year. And wouldn't that be absolute egg on the face of Hollywood if a kaiju movie ended up having the best opening weekend of the entire year? Oh, I would laugh so hard. Let's pray for that. Let's pray for that. As reported by box office tracking outlet The Numbers, the latest in Legendary's ever-growing MonsterVerse posted an impressive domestic box office total of $80 million over the course of just 4 days, a window which includes the film's Thursday preview night as well as its first standard weekend, which is a lot of the stuff we've seen. Obviously, this movie's doing way better than anything Marvel or Disney's put out in a long time by a long shot, and also they're not doing like some crazy, like week-long opening weekend to try to pad the numbers where they did like 7 days like we've seen with some of these stuff. Nope, just a standard Thursday night previews and then a regular old weekend, and they're still absolutely crushing it with $80 million domestically in the opening weekend. That's incredible. That's awesome, and it sounds like this movie might be on its way to a very successful franchise and hopefully making a profit. The kaiju team-up adventure success was only compounded on the world stage, where the same window, Godzilla Kong, pulled in a further $114 million, in doing so bringing its overall opening weekend to a whopping $194 million, almost $200 million on its opening weekend. That is absolutely insane and is absolutely embarrassing all of the rest of Hollywood out there, and boy, isn't that something fun to see. Notably, this total snags the film the aforementioned title of Best Opening Weekend of 2024 thus far, barely beating out previous champion Dune Part 2 and its $182.5 million opening weekend for the top spot. Further, having pulled in $10 million on its Thursday preview night, the film has also set the record for Best Preview Night of 2024 thus far. And that is awesome. And one of the things with Dune 2 is there were Sunday previews of Dune 2 prior to it even getting its early release later down in the week. So that's one of the things about this. This movie's just doing it standard fare, pretty straightforward, Thursday night previews, regular weekend, and they are still absolutely crushing it at the box office. That is absolutely incredible. This is so awesome, and it's just good to see. Just a good old classic monster movie, beat 'em up, smash 'em around, just a good action adventure, not a bunch of craziness, not a bunch of nonsense in it, just a good, fun, family, probably family-friendly movie for the most part. Of course, it should be noted that while Godzilla Kong's performance is unexpected, it remains a legitimate question whether the film will continue to have any significant legs going forward. While the film no doubt benefited from both releasing on Easter weekend and facing the lukewarmly received Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as its biggest competition, given how middling word of mouth has begun to drag down public interest in MonsterVerse sequel, particularly in regards to the stark lack of Godzilla himself, there remains a significant chance the film could slink off to a less than stellar conclusion to its run. That's also possible at the exact same time, but also this movie could be benefiting from the success of Godzilla Minus One. So because that movie was obviously a huge success, the fans absolutely loved it, and why not? If you were somebody that saw the Godzilla Minus One, you were like, yeah, this is awesome, this was great. Let's give another kaiju movie another shot. Obviously, it's probably not going to be as good as Minus One, but you know what? I got the itch. I got the itch for some kaiju. I got the itch for some Godzilla. And you know what? we're going to go see Godzilla versus Kong. I don't think or Godzilla X Kong. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, then further bolstering its hopes at least continuing performing well, the film luckily faces no significant competition for almost 2 weeks. As the next big Hollywood release, A24 and Alex Garland's Civil War does not hit theaters until April 12th. And honestly, I don't think the same people that are going to go be Civil War are going to be the same people that are going to go for repeat viewings of Godzilla vs. Kong either, so I don't think Civil War is going to have much effect on it. It'll be all up to its own on the next couple of weeks and whether or not it does Civil War. Honestly, if this movie ends up having good word of mouth and it ends up having legs, it wouldn't surprise me if its domestic weakening, it actually ended up beating Civil War in its opening weekend. Because I think there's a lot of people that are just like done with those kind of movies, done with that kind of nonsense. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to watch it on screen. It's not escapism for them. Like, I just don't think the Civil War movie is going to do very well overall. Whether or not it's a good movie or not, only time will tell. But I honestly don't think it's going to do very well at the box office in general. And from there, the next film that can be considered a blockbuster competitor to Godzilla Kong is, of course, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but doesn't release until May 10th. So this thing's basically got like the next month all to itself. Like, there's no way this movie isn't going to end up doing well. Given the latest monster reviews outing is set to stomp out the theatrical run completely unopposed, it's not out of the realm of possibility that its lack of competition could end up being the deciding factor in the film climbing to even further heights. Ultimately, how these factors ultimately play into Godzilla vs. Kong's final box office remains to be seen. But until then, at least one thing is for certain. The people love themselves some giant monster action. And yeah, and absolutely, I think the biggest thing about legs for any movie, right, is the Rotten Tomato score. Because I think that's the important part, right? Let's check this out. And let's see what the Rotten Tomato score is from the audience. Obviously, that's the one we're concerned about, is obviously the audience and what they think about it, not what the critics think about it. Because, of course, the critics are going to roast it. Okay, this right here tells us all we need to know. 92% for verified audiences. All audiences the exact same thing. 5,000 plus ratings, 2,500 plus verified ratings. Color us shocked there that the critics hate it and the top critics hate it even more. But that's not what matters. At the end of the day, what makes a movie successful is this right here, the audience score. If the audiences love it, and with the all audience, you've got 5,000 plus ratings on this thing already. That's an insane amount of ratings considering this movie just came out over this weekend. Obviously means that word of mouth is probably going to be good. I'd imagine this movie is going to end up having legs. I don't know exactly what the budget for this one was. Probably 150, couple $100 million considering all the CGI and all the graphics and everything else. But as of right now, this movie's already made almost $200 million just on its opening weekend. And if this audience score sings and continues to stick true to all of this kind of stuff, I think this movie is absolutely going to end up having legs, make a profit, and absolutely one of the most fun parts about all of this is embarrass all of the rest of Hollywood with all of their agenda-driven nonsense they've been going on. At the end of the day, people want escapism, and Godzilla Kong is literally nothing more than a great popcorn flick with a bunch of monsters, a lot of great action, and you can just turn your brain off and enjoy it. And with all the craziness we've got going on out there in the world, what more could any of us ask for? So congratulations to Godzilla Kong, the new empire, on your absolutely crushing it opening box office weekend. I hope you the most continued success. And let me know if you guys have gone to see or you plan on going to see Godzilla vs. Kong, the new empire, because it looks like it is smashing the box office. Pun intended.